Hey, welcome to the fourth episode of Grainline Grinders podcast. So today, of course, we're featured with the Halfbreed and Steven. It's not Steven, with your other host, Kevy G. And today, of course, we're going to be discussing some the latest tournament from Eggman. Are going to be discussing the actual results, the winner. And then I picked one spicy deck from there. So did the half breed. So we'll get into like four decks from the actual tournament that we think is actually kind of cool. And of course, like always, we'll be breaking down the current rankings on based off of Eggman events. And let's go ahead and introduce the rest of them. Also, if you're interested, I did post some videos on my other channel regarding how you can get starter decks and upgrade them for $30. But let's go ahead and introduce the half breed.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Yeah, we'll be talking about me and my list a bunch more, but really glad to be back. I think the format's kind of all right. You know, that like we could a ban would help, but it's not the end of the world if it doesn't come right away. And then how you doing, Steven?
Yeah, I'm good. Played a decent amount of the same. Been playing a few local tournaments as well. Try and get an idea of what's good and what's bad. I think a lot of this meta is going to be what we felt it was going to be beforehand, but we'll wait and see. And there is definitely always a card that always stands out in what should be banned at the moment. And I'm sure we'll discuss that later as well.
So let's go ahead and dive straight into the power rankings. So as you can see, we have number one most played deck, actually second most played deck, or third most played deck is the new purple black Luffy. But how do you guys feel about this leader and this deck as a whole right now?
So I mean, we first of all, we kind of got to say that like Steven was right because he was like talking about this deck a bunch the past 2 weeks in terms of his testing with it, and it is really strong. It feels like it's coming out of the corner as like one of the best aggressive decks or whatever, which is kind of funny, especially since there's like Bello Betty as another aggro deck, but
yep, down here.
It's just so fast and consistent at what it does. So I was wrong. Steven was right here.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that deck is when it pops off, it does kind of feel unbeatable. There's a few decks that can deal with some of the threats early on, but like it only takes the entire turn up, and then I call it Oil Luffy because it's BP.
Yeah, BP Oil.
BP Oil Luffy. It just kind of gets to do what it wants, and then you get to a stage in the game where you'll be on 2 life, have 7 cards in hand, have like 2 Donna for Giants, and it's like, well, I'm never dying, so I'm just gonna kill you before you can kill me, which is ultimately the aim of the game. And it's a really good deck at that. And like you said, it's super consistent at what it does.
Yeah.
Runs like 7-8 searches. It's so good.
The other big advantage about the deck as a whole is that the fact that most of the ramp for the deck, for one, doesn't get played on the deck, so it's cheaper. 2, the actual ramp for this leader is actually I think a lot better than Purple Luffy, where you have to go down on life. Usually you lose 2 life, so you basically start at 3 because you're ramping twice with it. Purple Black Luffy, you don't have to do that. You're literally your cards ramp for you, and so it's better in my opinion than something like ramping wise than Blue Purple Luffy.
I feel like we've also all learned by now like how good 6K leader is. So when you're 7K leader, it's just like even more ridiculous in terms of like if you thought someone was hard to kill when they're a 6K leader with Gum Gum Giant, just like 7K leader with Gum Gum Giant up makes all of the math feel so impossible. You know what I mean? It's
what I've understood, what I've heard, isn't also Purple Green Grape Luffy also picking up that same Luffy?
No.
I theorized at the start, but I don't know if it would ever need it. The weird thing with the 6-drop is you can even just drop them back to back, because if they ever remove one, you've just got a second one there. The deck, I feel like it's really, really good. It's just really good. It's arguably badly designed because it only runs purple cards. Like,
but does Grape Luffy's ability stack with the new Luffy?
Yes.
So it would become a 9K attacker?
8K.
8K.
But yeah. because the
Yeah.
Luffy leader buffs itself, but
But it's not by
the
base.
Luffy character, the 6/7, it makes your leader's base power 7. That's why you would never play it in blue purple Luffy, because it would just raise your leader from 6 to 7.
Yeah,
And they don't stack in multiples either, which can be awkward. But the 6/7 has been so insane. I found myself playing it so often, and it's like, even if you ramp into it and you play it and they don't have 5 Don yet, most of the time it just feels fine, because you're still just like, okay, I attach it onto my leader. I have a 7 cost character in play now, which is invulnerable to most things. It's just like, it's kind of unfortunate because like 10 hours after this list came out and these stats came out, the 6/7 Rush Luffy from Extra Booster jumped up like another $10-15, and it's now like $85 plus, closing in on 90, and it might be the first $100 non-alternate art card. But like, just the way the deck can work, where it's based around 6 costs that are actually 7 costs because of leader effect, like, invalidates what feels like 90% of the format's entire removal.
Yeah. Actually, I took it to my locals as it was my first deck I played in this format. And there was a few turns. I know that some decks don't even run the 8-drop Katakuri, which I love that card.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of games where I was able to go like 1, 3 Don, ramp into 4. 6 Don, drop Luffy. 8 Don, drop Katakuri. All of a sudden, I'm a 7k leader with a Don spare, with a 7k Luffy swing, 7k leader swing, 8k Katakuri on the board. And I'm like, how am I ever losing this game? The deck just absolutely pops off sometimes.
Yeah, the only thing awkward about it is the fact that you sometimes you're stuck with like trying to ramp twice in one turn, and you're like, okay, well the second one doesn't really work because you already used it for the first thing for the ramp. That is the only awkward part about this deck as a whole, in my opinion. And the other thing I really can't stand is the fact that I literally recorded 2 videos back to back for One Piece, and like almost, I would say about 75% of the matches were against Oil Luffy. I was like, oh my gosh, bro. Can I face something else?
Yeah. That's kind of the things that's like good and bad about these kind of stats, is that they're like a little biased just because like the sample size is not really that big. You know, after 1 week where it'll be doing, most of the time when they do the weekly power rankings, that's like sample sizes of like, you know, 4,000 to 10,000 games. On the really high end, it'll be like 15,000 games. And so this sample sizes throws it off a little bit, and it's just also mean that more people are going to play the deck because they've seen this list. But
yeah, I think I have to take a few of these numbers with a pinch of salt. Like the ones that I would say have like less than 1,500 games are like maybe a little questionable, especially the ones you know, like the Bonnie, Betty, Zorro.
Oh, at the bottom, Law showing up as 1,000. That's kind of base.
That's a deck also. It's a very steep learning curve with Law.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if that's reflected in the win rate right here. Is it because they just don't know the deck enough and they're trying to learn it, and it's taking them a while? Maybe that's why it's a little bit lower.
Like, honestly, if you make one bad play with that deck, you instantly lose the game.
Yep.
Like you can't afford to make a bad deck. So it probably should be around 51, 52%. It just loses 5% win rates because people misclick or haven't play the deck or experience it enough.
Yeah, but down 1 life too much.
I feel vindicated though.
Yeah, that's true. That's
green. Look at all this green matchups for Zoro.
Yeah,
I feel vindicated. I said
it definitely turns out like
it's only 320 games, so it's got the lowest.
I understand, but it seems like as long as you could dodge Boogie and Purple Luffy, you're okay.
By the way, 13% win rate into Boogie. I've never seen.
Yeah, that was the funniest thing ever.
I've never seen anything that low before. That is, for a card game, that is wild.
The lowest written in the game before used to be like Zoro into a Nell, but that was like 17 or 18%. So now we're down even lower. So
yeah, you just have to dodge this matchup.
Yeah, it's still a good shout. It's Purple Luffy win rate is also super low, which I'm very surprised at.
Yeah,
but again, I guess it might just be there's not that many games played
Well,
for
I mean,
it.
Purple-
I think the combination
has the
of
highest.
9 mom and
Zoro, Red
Katakuri.
Zoro into purple.
Oh, I mean, isn't but Purple Luffy has totally switched their entire strategy. So I mean, it's not as they're playing Katakuris now. They're playing a different game than they used to. So it probably is a little bit better now. But who wants to address the elephant in the room? Out of the top 5 decks, there's only one non-purple. What's up with this? And they're all Luffy's.
Yeah. GGGGG, bro. That's all I gotta say. That's my new motto, and I'm gonna keep saying it. Gum Gum Giants gotta go, dude.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
I would be okay with it if they print a fixed Gum Gum Giant and then ban it. Because you can't just pull it from under the rug and then let purple decks just drop. So
the only way to fix it is to make it draw 1 or whatever. You discard 1, draw 1, but it's like.
I could see, well, if it did it done -3, I think would be an interesting change to it.
Yeah,
but yeah,
but then I think it probably comes
equivalent to it. Then I would be happy with it. I mean, it could be banned.
Erratas just aren't reasonable,
I'm
and
not saying
the purple decks
errata.
are like. The purple decks are all good without Gum Gum Giant. They're all still have like unique game plans. It's just that like Gum Gum Giant is just also kind of bad game design. I'm like making a Magic the Gathering reference again, but like imagine if they printed a 1-mana fog with draw a card. It's just so silly. It just draws out games unnecessarily longer than they have to be.
So
by the way, for those who don't know, fog was a card in Magic the Gathering that just cancels all combat damage for the turn. So it means for 1 turn, you can't deal any combat damage. So it just like, you just play this thing for 1, it replaces itself, so nothing happened. You just skip your entire, your opponent's whole attack step, and then you try and move on with the game, but you're just like so far ahead. So I think it's like.
Is your comparison is kind of that to Veil Summer in Magic?
Yeah.
Because it's like 1 green, draw a card, basically hexproof from black and blue, and then it just everything yours gets hexproof from black and blue, so it just kind of like hoses for 1 mana.
But it's like almost better than Veil of Summer. It's like if Veil of Summer was for every color.
To follow on from it as well, like all the decks are different. Those 4 Luffy decks play fairly differently to each other, but it's always going to be a 4 of. It doesn't matter how the deck plays. The card's that powerful. It's just a 4 of it in however you're going to play the game.
Well, it probably also doesn't really help the fact that I think most people consider Luffy as one of the most favorite characters.
Yeah.
They're going to keep pushing Luffy to sell. I think at this point they really need to just say, okay, we'll make the next Luffy. Just don't make it purple. Make it another color. Give us a yellow black Luffy. No, we already have that. Give us a yellow blue Luffy. There you go. Just push another color for Luffy. That way it's not so.
Straw Hats used to be red, and it seems like they've mostly moved them over to purple now. But there's like also Straw Hats in every color, right? Like, so it's awkward.
I don't even get it from a flavors perspective. I mean, because purple is ramp. What about Luffy's character is about that kind of strategy in the first place?
Yeah.
He's just hyper aggressive, and he likes to go in there and swing. He likes to call his moves out.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just the anime thing.
He does feel more like a red character than he does a purple character.
Yeah.
In the
let's shout out Red Purple Luffy for not being on the list. Like,
right?
Good job, Red Purple Luffy.
There's one color combination that didn't make it.
I mean,
one Luffy deck didn't
but why play red purple? I mean, when you basically could have this as the same amount of life. I mean, blue purple.
Yeah.
Like
I think black purple probably plays the most similar to it. Like. It's a 7K leader.
Just a little bit of ramp, and then you slam a bunch of rushers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Big dudes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what else do you guys want to talk about when it comes to this? So, number 4 is Buggy.
Yeah.
So, let's pivot off of Luffy.
I mean, Buggy, I think, is like really strong, right? Buggy is just I think it has a losing percentage a little bit because like people don't know how to play it correctly yet, right? And I think a lot of people don't have the right lists. But I think Buggy is going to turn out a lot like Lim, where when Lim first came out, a lot of people were trying to do like 9-cost audio. They were playing like 9-cost Shanks or 10-drop Doflamingo. They were, playing all that other stuff. And it's like, I think the best thing to do with Buggy is to just be like as streamlined and just play cross guild cards and just try and be an aggro deck that like plays characters early, defends those characters, and then you win the game because you got 5 characters on the board first and then killed them, right? Like, and it's just getting carried definitely by its really good blue-purple matchup and how good it is against Bello Betty as well, right? So it's like,
Teach.
Yeah, it's in a decent spot because it's really good against quote unquote the best deck, and it's really good against the counter against the best deck. It does still have a few tough matchups, like green purple is the worst one for sure, but I think it's in a really good spot.
So you think Yamato is not? We think 2 of us had it in our top 10. The abysmal win rate from Yamato. Do you think this is because the list has not been finalized yet?
Yeah, I think it's a build thing. I think it's a build issue. It's really hard to build Yamato.
Red is in this category for Yamato.
To me, it's a Gum Gum Giant issue. Every single matchup that has Gum Gum Giant is losing for Yamato. Every single one. Because Yamato is all about that one final turn swing to kill.
Yep.
Where you bring yourself low, you bring the opponent low, but then you try and kill them when they're at 0, right? It's like a Harikiri style of deck, right? Where you're blowing yourself up, but them first, especially with like Hody Jones or whatever. But Gum Gum Giant just means that you can't ever close the game. And if you can't close the game, you're too fragile to survive. So like, if Gum Gum Giant does get banned, I think you can play Yamato. But even on that list, every single Gum Gum Giant deck is a losing matchup. And you just can't do that right now. That's just too much.
I think I've a little bit of experience on it, but I feel like people just take the first hit. Like, unless it's banished, they just get 2 more cards, and it's like, oh, great, I've just got more resources to do my strategy and do my thing. And unfortunately, Yamato just can't quite keep up with what these decks are doing. And then, again, they can't quite kill it, because as soon as they get in range, they're just spamming Giant or dropping 8-cost Katakuri blocker, where you just, unless you draw Hody Jones at, like, literally the perfect time, you can't win the game. You can never close it out.
So what would you think about if they printed a card that basically stopped additional card draw? Like, would that help?
It's just too hard to implement it in a way that matters, right? Like,
because it would have to be like attached to a body, I think, or maybe it could be like a leader's effect.
It would have to be I would think it would be like a modal type effect. So like kind of like how Gear 2 is, where like it can be a ramp spell, or it can also be where you just make where they can't draw additional cards for the turn for one blue or something like that.
It just like, it's too hard to implement, right? So now you need 2 cards to kill them, right? Like you need to draw this thing that stops them from drawing off the Gum Gum Giant. And you need to draw it at the right time. And then it also, like, I understand what you're trying to say, but I think those types of cards just don't solve the problem. But I'm also like a ban extremist, where I'm always like, ban.
Maybe Steven's right. Maybe it would have to be attached to a character, and it's like a static effect. Your opponent can't draw more than 1 card per turn.
There is the Alvida, where it's like, on your turn, if your opponent activates an effect, they need to bottom deck a card.
Yeah.
Right. There is something kind of like that already. It's a 2K as well, so it's like semi-flexible.
That's the 5 one, right?
Yeah. It's a Geon. It's a Navy 2K.
The problem with these kind of cards are they're either normally like a little bit too weak, or they have to be strong enough where it's a good card even if it doesn't get its effect off, which is like such a hard thing to do. The best example we've got is like Pudding, where it's like the effect's so strong that you don't care about the full cost 4K body. Like the effect just literally game winning. I don't know what effect it would have that could kind of prevent it from like drawing additional cards. It would have to be like a pretty decent body anyway, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it would have to be something
It couldn't be its only effect, or it would have to be on basically a vanilla body, which then
Yeah.
Yeah, it basically would have
That's
to be
a
like
little
a
sus.
rusher, maybe like a 6.
It just makes
8K
deck building so bad
rusher.
too, where now every deck has to take 4 cards out of their deck to play this card that helps you beat the most broken card in the deck. And then, like, if you're in the anti-broken card mirror, then you just have 4 useless cards in your deck.
It would have a lot of purpose out even outside of it. If they ban Gum Gum Giant, like
No,
Nami's
but there's
still
not that
very
many
well
cards
positioned.
that draw cards during your turn. And it would be a little too good to make a card that's like main, your opponent can't draw cards until your next turn. Like, that would be too good.
It's like an interesting idea, but
I was thinking,
just
yeah,
because
it would
of how
be
the timing of how the counter event works and the fact that there's no like instant speed response to your opponent's counter effect.
Because in Magic the Gathering, there is an equivalent, which is Narsat. People hate Narsat, so yeah, it probably would be just hated as an actual physical card, where it sits there and basically makes your opponent on their turn they can only draw 1 card, which is their.
It's just like just ban Giant, man. Then we can play all these other cards. It's just like.
They'll print a blue Blackbeard leader. Ditch a card your opponent cannot draw until your next turn.
Yeah, but
oh my god, that would be horrible.
But now we're like coming up with all these fake cards rather than just banning the card that is the actual problem.
100%.
That's my big issue, right? But like,
100%.
So,
yeah.
So Blackbeard is not doing as well.
It's struggling right now because the meta is pretty aggressive.
It seems like it also can't beat any sort of Luffy deck.
Yeah, I can't beat the Giant decks.
Yeah, it already had a bad matchup into Grey, but I don't think the starter deck things really helped it. I'm surprised it's worse than it was because I think the Kuzan should have made it better. The blocker Kuzan should have made that matchup a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that might be people maybe still experimenting with Blackbeard lists.
Yeah, what do they have as the list here for Teach on the meta?
I don't think they've published it yet. So
no, I think so. If you scroll down, no?
Yeah. There is one from here.
Yeah, that should just be the like statistical compilation of the like most winningest Teach deck.
Yeah.
But what does it look like? Are they playing the blocker?
They're playing a couple copies of Devin, which is interesting.
Yeah. But it's just another 2K.
Yeah. Caribou.
No liberation is the interesting thing.
Yeah, it screams out to me. 3 of the 7-drop Teach as well is interesting.
The 7-drop Teach, though, I gotta say, I have seen that card in play a couple of times because they hosted some tournaments in Italy and France where I think it was Luigi Amato. No, not Luigi Amato, the other one. Maybe it is Luigi Amato Teach, TCG. He did a like POV of his POV playing in a tournament with Blackbeard. And I did not fully think through how broken grab any black card from your trash is. Yeah. There's some really stupid things that I saw where it was like it dies and then you got back Black Hole so that he could turn off an 8-drop Kid to swing for lethal. It died and he got back itself, which was also an insane thing that I didn't think about because it can grab the 10-drop Teach or it can just pick up itself, which is kind of insane. So like, if you wanted to, you could just loop this every turn. Just play it, they attack into it, you get it back, and then you play it, and they attack into it, and you get it back. And like,
I'm not sold that 3 of them is worth it though. I don't know how many times I've had this card in my hand and it just rots.
No 6-drop liberation seems weird to me. Yeah, but
well, I mean, it makes sense in this. It makes sense in this build because it's playing more blockers. So you're going to be playing blocker, and you're basically never going to get the liberation online.
Yeah.
So it makes
I guess the
here.
thing is, if you have 3 copies of the Teach, I'm surprised no Tempest Kick, but
yeah, my deck I'm playing in paper has Tempest Kick. I'm not playing Black Hole.
I think you need at least one Black Hole.
Yeah, Black Hole is like the best thing in the mirror.
There's so many good things that you can do with Black Hole by turning off characters' abilities, like turning off blocker, turning off 8-drop Kid.
Okay, maybe I'll cut a Tempest Kicks. Right now I'm playing 3 Tempest Kicks, 2 liberations, 4 of for these.
The lists from the stats post are always just like a statistical average of the most common plus most winningest cards in the list. Like, so.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense that Devon is basically like a weaker, stronger, but so
it just also gives something -1 cost, right?
Yeah, instead of -2.
Yeah.
This one always guarantees draws a card. This one you have to KO it. So like it is a little bit worse, but
yeah, but that one, if it stays on the board, they have to attack into it.
So basically, they've cut back on Dock Q.
Yeah. I like this list. I think it's in a good spot, but it's definitely you don't have anything to do about Gum Gum Giant, which is just another victim of that card. Like, you would think attacking them for 12 twice with your 10 drop would be good enough. It is not. They just like, it's so lame, man. It's so lame when 2 12K swings is not even close to being enough to killing them.
Yep.